Today we continue to look at the account of the Israelites as they make their way from slavery in Egypt to the Promised Land. I've titled the message for today, Free Food for Life. And by the time we get to the end of this, you'll probably realise why. So, last week we talked about the Israelites being miraculously saved and moved across the Red Sea as it parted, and their pursuers all killed. But today we find ourselves in a rather different situation. Exodus 16 verses 2 to 15 from the New International Version, starting at verse 2. In the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death." Oh boy. It's hard to understand how they can be at this point already. You know, to me it sounds very much like Aussies. You know, we're very happy to blame our leaders when something goes wrong, and very reluctant to realise that we elect those leaders, and what's gone wrong in a lot of cases is of our own doing. I mean, can you really believe that these Israelites would rather go back to Egypt? After all God's done, they can't trust him. I guess it's hard to believe, but if we look at ourselves, I'm sure we find ourselves in that sort of situation more often than we'd like to admit. Verse 4. Then the Lord said to Moses, "I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. On the 6th day, they are to prepare what they bring in, and that is to be twice as much as they gathered on the other days." God is putting his people to the test. Will they trust him to provide day by day, just one day at a time, and 2 days when it comes to the day of rest? I mean, later on we read that if they collected more than they needed for a day, overnight it would rot. But when they collected for 2 days, it would last 2 days. You know, God provides for us what we need to get us through the day, and sometimes he provides what we need for the next thing as well. Just what we need. If we take too much, it's wasted. The other thing that we read later is that when everybody had collected and it was distributed out, there was exactly enough for everybody. You know, if we look at the church and we think, well, we don't have enough to do God's work. We don't have enough for mission. Then what's wrong? God always provides enough. We need to have a really close look at the church community as a whole. If we don't have enough to do what God calls us to, are we wasting it on things that God doesn't call us to? Are we not using what God gives us? You know, like it or not, this is a miracle. Think about it. They collected about 1.5 kilos every day. There were probably close to 2 million people. If you work that out, that's roughly 3,000 tonnes a day, and it's for 40 years, give or take. Even if this was naturally occurring, for it to happen for that period of time in that amount is a miracle. There's no question about it. Now, verse 6. So Moses and Aaron said to all the Israelites, in the evening you will know that it is the Lord who brought you out of Egypt, and in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Who are we that you should grumble against us? In the end, it's God who provides. God provides everything. And what he provided yesterday is for yesterday. And what he provides tomorrow is for tomorrow. And what he provides for longer periods of time is for the time and the place where he determines. You know, the word grumble literally means refuse to move. And I thought this was a really good illustration. You know, imagine a toddler, hungry, and they just sit on the floor in the middle of the supermarket aisle or something and go, I'm not moving until you feed me. I mean, this is what the people of God were doing. And though the grumbling was to Moses and Aaron, really the grumbling was against God himself. Verse 8. Moses also said, you will know that it is the Lord when he gives you meat to eat in the evening and all the bread you want in the morning, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Who are we? You are not grumbling against us, but against the Lord. Again, God hears. even when his people's attitude is wrong, he still provides. You know, we just need to look and see and remember what God has done to realise how trustworthy he is, how he will provide in the future. We have nothing to worry about. Doesn't mean that we haven't got to go out and collect our manna, but it does mean we don't have to worry about it. Verse 9. Then Moses said to Aaron, "Say to the entire Israelite community, 'Come before the Lord, for he has heard your grumbling.'" While Aaron was speaking to the whole Israelite community, they looked towards the desert, and there was the glory of the Lord appearing in a cloud. In short, stop whinging, come together, and God will show himself to us. In many ways, that could very well be a message for God's church today. Verse 11. The Lord said to Moses, "I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. Tell them, at twilight you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God." Again, meat and bread. I'm going to do this, God says. I'm going to do this. And when I do, you'll know it comes from God's promise to his people. When God moves, it is so clear that it's a movement of God, because we can rely on his past promises. Verse 13. That evening, quail came and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost on the ground appeared on the desert floor. When the Israelites saw it, they said to each other, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. Moses said to them, "It is the bread the Lord has given you to eat." Free food from the sky. Free food falling from the sky, morning and night. Wow. And it happened for the life of the rest of that generation. Remember, there was none of that generation who got into the promised land. They all died, bar a couple. But imagine, God is providing for them for life. Now, he does that for us too. God will provide everything we need for the whole of our lives. And you know what? We might know what it is when it comes, but boy, when we step into the use of what God provides for us, we will know that it comes from God. Yeah, the word manna actually means, what is this? That's why it's called manna. You know, sometimes we say to God, what is this? If he's provided it, it's something for us to use. So I guess the question is, do we need to stop whinging, stop grumbling, move forward one day at a time? Like the old song says, one day at a time, sweet Jesus. That's all I'm asking from you. We need to put our faith and trust in the God who provides everything that we need. We don't have to worry about tomorrow because God's got it in hand. But we do have to move into tomorrow with God's provision. Lord, make us willing to move without grumbling forward towards your promised land for us. Amen.